Sick. So we have a consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the consent agenda as published.
And I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any further discussion on the motion to approve the consent agenda in its second? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. This morning, we have the opportunity to hear from Bruce Caldney. Did I get that right? Close enough. From the Kansas Association of Counties. And for all those in the public who do not know, the Kansas Association of Counties is our friend in Topeka that helps bring about legislative changes for the benefit of our local government. Good morning, Bruce.
Well, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning. And you kind of stole my introduction, but that's okay. As introduced, my name is Bruce Cladney, Executive Director for the Kansas Association of Counties, and we appreciate the Finney County Commission for being a part of our organization. I know that the commissioners here around the table are part of their association, the Kansas County Commissioners Association, and I know that that organization has been benefiting from
the Kansas Association.
and I And also another one is to do a podcast with Robert here once we finish up this morning. We're going to capture some of that knowledge and some of that history and share it with folks around the state about exactly what LAVTR is. And so I keep talking about LAVTR, and we have a real quick video here that I'd like to kind of introduce the topic to, if you don't mind.
One of the first things we learn as an early child is our ABCs, the basic building block for knowledge in all forms of communication. But as we age and become home and business owners, our language must grow and adapt to include something new, a language that includes LAVTR. Local ad valorem tax reduction, or LAVTR, was born back in the mid-1930s. It began with the state of Kansas sending excess sales tax dollars to the counties to help stabilize and lower property taxes during the Great Depression. The concept was memorialized statutorily in 1965 by KSA 79-2959, which transferred a percentage of the total state sales and compensating use tax as well as the local share of cigarette stamp taxes and cereal malt beverage taxes to local governments. Considered a demand transfer, 2 payments were made based on the formula set in statute. Then, during the 1970s, other revenue sources to help ease the property tax burden were introduced. The state took over collecting revenue from liquor by the drink and other taxes. In exchange, the state agreed to return those funds to the county in the form of various state aid, including LAVTR and the County and City Revenue Sharing Fund, also called CCRS. All throughout the 1990s, the state tinkered with the amounts that they sent to the counties, sometimes adjusting it up and sometimes pushing it down. Then, in the early 2000s, something changed. For 2001 and 2002, the state legislature allocated 10% less than what the statute required. And then for 2003, they allocated less than half of the statutory $62.4 million. Then, for 2004, there was no allocation made by the legislature to fund LAVTR at all. And during the 2004 session, the legislature opted to extend a moratorium on payments through the 2005 fiscal year. The 2005 Kansas legislature doubled up, avoiding payments in the 2006 and 2007 fiscal years. And with that, LAVTR was gone. As a result of these actions between 2001 and 2022, Kansas municipalities have lost over $1.7 billion in revenue from LAVTR alone. Likewise, they have also lost an additional $1.3 billion in CCRS funding and over $400 million in transfers to the County City Highway Fund. In total, over $3.5 billion in revenue that was to be provided by the state has disappeared. Revenue that has been made up at the local level mostly through property tax increases. It has been 20 years since LAVTR was last funded. However, on March 28, 2023, LAVTR was openly and readily debated on the Kansas House floor as a potential budget amendment to the 2024 state budget. Today's proposed amendment would fully fund LAVTR for the first time since 2000. The vote is not about the myths of what LAVTR is or isn't. Instead, it is about providing true property tax relief, something that all Kansans have been asking for. The amendment was proposed by the House Minority Leader, and it passed, decisively, by a vote count of 83 to 40, with a mixture of Republicans and Democrats voting for the measure. From urban, suburban, and rural areas, the amendment enjoyed wide support. So why, ultimately, did LAVTR not get included in the budget? It comes down to leadership support. None of the House Majority Party leadership supported the amendment, and there is little momentum in the Senate to move LAVTR funding forward. That narrative must change. It is time that concerned citizens send a message to elected officials advocating for true property tax assistance. But how? First, by leading the discussion. Most Kansans don't know what LAVTR is. They have no reason to know since it essentially has not existed for 2 decades. So we must talk about LAVTR and make it more than just alphabet soup to the average Kansan. Next, we need to educate. In essence, when LAVTR dollars are not returned to the county, we as taxpayers are paying the same tax twice. Once in the store when we purchase the goods, and then again to the county through property tax collections. However, we must be honest about the expectations of LAVTR. It is not a silver bullet that will magically save individual Kansans hundreds of dollars in property taxes. It will, however, reduce the county and city budget dollars that they can collect dollar for dollar. Finally, become an advocate. We must advocate for why county government should receive LAVTR funds. The purpose of LAVTR is not to fund local government. The purpose is to help offset the property tax burden. Remember, the original purpose of LAVTR was to bring stability and help lower the property tax collections. Advocating for LAVTR means explaining how your county will benefit from the funding to reduce the property tax burden. The journey away from LAVTR took 20 years. We don't know how long the journey back may take, but it's a journey worth making. If you have questions or want to learn more about LAVTR, feel free to reach out to KAC and be sure to check out our website for more tools to help tell your LAVTR story.
Wonderful, thank you. So the website there is kansascounties.org, and you'll see it up there on the red guided, on the navigation bar under legislative. If you would please highlight the legislative, and then the first button is Legislative Advocacy Toolkit for Kansas Counties. And if you'll click on that, that takes you to this LAVTR toolkit. And this is where we have a whole host of talking points, frequently asked questions, slideshows, a template to help you write a letter to the editor of the local newspaper. There's a template there to help you write a letter to your state leaders. And then there's also the mill levy calculated. There's a worksheet there, which is an Excel spreadsheet that actually shows you if they were to fully fund LAVTR funds, just how much money in dollars that means for Finney County, but then also it equates that to mills. So you could see just how many mills the Finney County budget would drop. So there's a whole host of tools there, and I can't advocate or can't stress enough that this is not necessarily just for those of us in the room that are here, but for everybody across the community, because that's what this is going to have to become, a community-wide push. We've got the ball rolling. We're starting to raise a little bit of awareness in Topeka. I know that the local Representative Clifford has been a huge advocate of LAVTR. And in fact, we have a video with him coming out here in the next couple of weeks that we're going to be unveiling, which is a really good video talking about the history of LAVTR and the importance of it and where we are today and why we need to move forward with it. So we're looking forward to continuing to build tools that we're going to add to the toolkit. And like I said, we're going to do a podcast with the county administrator, and we appreciate him willing to do that with us, and we'll add that to the toolkit. So we're just trying to build an awareness and a resource for you and for all the citizens to get the word out that this is available at no cost, and people can kind of do their own homework and then make their decision on advocating for or against LAV. So,
Bruce, if I may, I want to make it clear for those who are listening, this is a state law, not a Finney County resolution, correct?
that is correct, yes.
Two is that they're taking 21.5 mills out of here already in the state finance formula, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And LATVR has been on books and hasn't been funded since 2003
That is correct.
because they chose not to.
That's exactly right.
It's the will of the people. All political power in America rests with the people. So in my opinion, Bruce, what you're asking us is to motivate the folks to make it right. There's right and wrong. This is just plain wrong.
This is just plain wrong in a lot of people's eyes, so yes.
Yes,
So,
Bruce,
yes, sir.
my only question is that our local representation is all in favor of this, but the problem is, have you been able to present this video to any of the other legislators around the state?
Well, we're slowly getting it around, and in fact, the Speaker of the House has actually recognized the fact that we are starting to raise an awareness, and he's trying to address it through various media that he has access to, saying that this is not the right thing. This is, not a good thing for Kansans, and we're providing the facts that say that this is, legislatively required, and these are the funds that would help counties lower their mill levies, and we're coming up with all the facts that we can to give to the citizens to make a decision, to make a choice.
What is their argument that it's not a good,
If you
it's not a bill, a law?
Yes, so if you read their news media that they've put out, newsletters and things like that, they're accusing this of being a slush fund, that counties did not spend the money properly, that they wasted the money, and that it didn't go, in fact, to property tax reduction.
That's like the pot calling the kettle black.
So we have the facts showing that that's not in fact what happens. We have the facts showing that, Kansas counties are acting responsibly and keeping their budgets in check, and we're trying to make the case that what we have is numbers and data on our side versus just hearsay and speculation.
Commissioner Pishney?
Thank you for being here. I appreciate you being
Yes.
out of Topeka and out of eastern Kansas. And I know you get out to western Kansas periodically because I've seen you at other things. But thank you for coming out and
My pleasure.
being an advocate for counties and covering the state as you do that. And I know you're headed to Seward County later today, and tell them hi too.
I sure will.
But, and Larry has opened the door to what I was going to ask with regard to leadership, because I know, reading the articles, that they're, the key leaders in the legislature are not in favor of reinstating LAVTR for the reason that you just stated. They don't think there's enough control over it. And that gets into the local control thing, and I hope that we can help convince them that this is a local control issue as far as the lowering of the property tax and helping our residents in our areas, and to quit mandating, from the State House what we do. The law's already there. The statute's already there. Secondly, I saw last week, and I called it to your attention as well, an advocacy group who has come out against us, the counties, Mike Taylor with KCCA, who you referenced earlier, and saying that we're not telling the truth. And I believe we are telling the truth, but how do we reach out to those advocates, or how are we reaching out to those advocacy groups and setting the record straight as well?
Well, as an organization, KAC is not reaching out individually to those organizations that advocate against this concept or this agreement that the state has with the local governments. What we are doing is providing the resources for citizens to reach out to their friends, family, relatives, to those advocacy groups through those channels, saying, hey, look, I know more about this LAVTR than what you're telling me, and this is what I think it is, and we need to reinstate it because it is an agreement that the state has made with the counties many, many years ago, and it was used effectively to help keep property taxes in check, if you will. It's not a magic bullet, as the video suggests. It's a finite amount of money, and budgets do go up, expenses, costs do go up. We understand that, but it definitely is a tool in the toolbox that counties need to have to help bring those dollars that are rightfully belong in this county back to this county.
And I appreciate that position. And my one last thing, Mr. Chairman, is I appreciate that position, appreciate where KAC is and what its role is. But my concern is the hook that those anti-advocacy groups have in the legislature, the legislators, and trying to counter that and trying to unhook that.
Right.
And help those, and you've already mentioned you're talking to the speaker and so forth. So that's my concern, is that those advocacy groups that are anti and are not necessarily telling the truth themselves,
Right.
but saying that we're not, that we are able to keep that away from the ears of some individual legislators.
Well, I'm hopeful that the fact of the matter is that the amendment was floated this past legislative session and it approved, as you saw in the video, 83 to 40. And what that video doesn't talk about is when the actual vote took place on the floor, there were 17 representatives that actually flipped their votes from nay to yay. Why is that important? Because even with those 17, that amendment still passed. So the fact of the matter is that there is support, bipartisan support in the House. So to speak of those advocacy groups is correct, Commissioner, that you're right. They do have a hook in many of those folks, but we're hoping that through these means, through this educational push, like I said, we have more videos coming out, we have more podcasts to create, that we're creating more awareness among citizens that help to loosen that hook, that grab into the advocacy groups, which is actually kind of an interesting argument that they say, we don't want our money to come back to us. When they say we don't want LAVTR funded, it's money that they've already paid into the pot too, in the communities that they live in. So for them to say, we don't want that money to come back to us, we want the county to charge us again for that money, I don't think they understand what they're arguing for.
Lastly, thank you very much. I appreciate what you and Jay and others and bringing people together like Bill Clifford and Robert and so forth for that advocacy. Thank you.
Very good. Well, thank you.
Commissioner Dries.
Just my appreciation, you know, you've already presented to quite a few number of Finney County, because they're watching us.
That's great.
So appreciate information that you gave to our citizens.
Wonderful. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here, folks. Thank you.
I don't have much to offer in addition, other than apparently from the third floor of the State House, you can get a clearer view of how to run counties than we do at the second level of our own administrative building. So we appreciate your efforts. Good luck, and do what you can. Let us know what we can do to help.
Well, I appreciate that, and maybe we'll put that on a T-shirt and sell it at the Capitol and make a few dollars.
Thank you, Bruce.
Awesome. Thank you, folks, very much.
Is there any other public comment today on our agenda? Hearing none, then we'll move into the business items. The Fair Board, I don't see that Roxanne is here, but Commissioner Dries advises that he was present for the board meeting for the Finney County Fair Board, and the item on the business agenda is the appointment of new members. Commissioner Dries.
Mr. Chairman, these list of 3 people, Brock Baker, Adam Patterson, and Courtney Miller, have been quite active the last 2 or 3 meetings. I think they'll be fantastic additions to the Fair Board. And again, because they're so active and so willing to serve, I move that we approve these 3 board members to the Finney County Fair.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to appoint the 3 designated persons to appointment as new members to the Finney County Fair Board. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next up on our agenda is the Finney County Historical Museum / roof, and also update from Steve Quakenbush, Executive Director. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, and thanks for having me. Yeah, we came to ask for some funding because we are the only people in town who have been disappointed when it rains. And that's because we've been battling some serious leakage problems with one of the roofs on our building. In fact, I brought some materials, 2 sheets, and I'll start one set here, another set here. The Finney County Museum as it exists right now dates to 1994. The original portion of our building actually goes back to 1964, but we had a major expansion in 94 that put us in our present configuration, and a portion of the asphalt and gravel roof on that is about 30 years old at this point, and we've had some serious leakage problems going on for about 5 years. I have to give a lot of credit to D.V. Douglas Roofing. They have been on our roof and patched it, honestly, 15 times. They never charge us a cent. But they're getting to the point where it's like whack-a-mole. Fix this one, another one pops up, because The asphalt's getting old, it's cracking. The latest leak, which is now temporarily patched, but the latest major leak we had over the spring and summer, and it was great to have the rain. We filled 30-gallon barrels with water several times, about every time we had a major rain, in one of our exhibit galleries. The leakage is also threatening two of our storage areas where we store large artifacts, and we're having, a lot of ceiling tile damage as well. And we just never know where in that section the leakage may pop up again. We're talking about a space that's approximately 40 feet wide and about 126 feet long, I believe. Another concern that we always have in the museum with artifacts is moisture and mold. We haven't seen any pop up, but there is a risk, with this. We have an estimate from Douglas Roofing. It's almost $54,000 to repair that stretch, $53,650. We're anticipating, however, a total cost of up to $58,000 because that estimate is several months old, and there are always surprises when you get in and get to tearing things up. We have identified about $48,000 in gift funding that we can access, so we're almost there. But it's our understanding, and I want to credit Robert for pointing out this possibility. Our understanding is there is some American Recovery Act funding that could be available for that. So we're asking if you would consider helping us out at the $10,000 level so that we would be able to have the $58,000 on hand that we need. A little history, because we're the history people. The area we're talking about, and it shows on the picture, covers the temporary gallery which houses the true crime exhibit, the artifact registrar's office, our exhibit prep area, break room, mail room, couple of offices, a hallway, two large artifact storage areas. All of those date to the 1994 construction. We did have the front portion of the building, the east portion that runs north and south, re-roofed in 2016, I believe it's on here, 2014. That shows how the cost of roofing has gone up. That entire section was done for $21,000. And some of you, I think, were on the commission at that time. You may remember we came up here with a bucket to show you we didn't need those buckets anymore because the county covered that entire cost, and we appreciated it. But that's basically what we're looking at. We need about $58,000. We have $48,000, and we are looking for some help because it's gotten to the critical stage. I know that Douglas Roofing will continue to come and patch, but it's gotten to be where we're really past the point that we can get by on patching. We, in the true crime exhibit, have had to close it repeatedly this year. Imagine this room, imagine the section where you're seated with the leak right about where the ventilation panel is up there. We have to move artifacts out of that, close the exhibit, and leave it for several days every time it's raining. Now, again, that's patched for the moment, and they've told us they think it'll hold for a while. But again, we just keep seeing this happen over and over again. And, I'm not a construction engineer, but it's pretty obvious that we need a roof. So,
Let's cut to the chase. Is there a motion to approve the funding?
Mr. Chairman, I think the citizens or the patrons of the museum have already spoken. They've donated $48,000, so I think we could make up the difference and get the roof put on. It's a nice problem to have. We all appreciate the moisture. That's my motion.
And I would second his motion, which is specifically $10,000 and paid out of ARPA funds.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I hope indicative of our support of your mission. Briefly, you're having an event at the Historical Society. Would you briefly help the public understand what's going on? Just to
Sure.
give a plug for the museum.
Well, I appreciate that because we are always having events and activities, and most of those raise funds. This one doesn't, but we have several coming up tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock. We're continuing our History at High Noon and evenings at the museum series. And so 7 o'clock Tuesday evening, we'll have Brett Marshall, former Garden City Telegram sports editor. Brett, with others, has just completed a 236-page history book, relying on our resources to a large extent, about the history of the public schools in Garden City and Garden City High School. And it's filled with photographs. It's filled with historical information, and he'll be presenting at 7 o'clock Tuesday evening, so we hope you'll come. And we're proud to have that, and it's part of a series. In October, we have two programs, one at noon on the 11th, another at 7 p.m. on the 17th. Both will be presented by Kevin Salter from the Kansas Division of Water Resources about the Arkansas River Compact and how it and John Martin Reservoir have affected Finney County and southwest Kansas. I can't believe it. This is the 75th anniversary of John Martin. And so we'll have that program. And then we have two programs in November. On the 15th at noon, we'll have Jeremy Gill. He's a Garden City native, but he's a member of the staff at the Hayes Public Library. And he's going to talk about the history of crops and crop production and the evolution of crops since the earliest days of settlement here in Finney County, and how that has affected society, how it's affected our communities, how it's brought wave after wave of immigrants. So he'll be talking about everything from broom corn and sugar beets to what we have today. And then 7 o'clock, November 21st, we'll have Troy Crable. If you haven't met Troy, he's a outstanding young man from Hokum. He farms with his family, but he's a historical reenactor, and he volunteers as a costume character at Bent's Fort in Los Animas, Colorado, and also at Fort Larned. And he will be here as a trader at Bent's Fort, and he's going to give us the history of Bent's Fort. So we have all of that going on, and we hope you'll come. It's basically second Wednesday at noon, and third Tuesday at 7 o'clock. We have an exhibit that we hope you'll stop by and see. It went up recently. It'll be in place until about Thanksgiving. This is the 100th anniversary of the Garden City Police Department. And we have a number of artifacts, a lot of pictures, a fair amount of information. And, you know, we've had a lot of blue uniforms coming in the door lately, too, to see that. So we hope you can come by and see that. One thing we're not able to do this year for the first time, and we're disappointed, we are not able this year to stage the historic walking tours of Valley View Cemetery, and it's due to injuries. We have a staff of 6, and 2 of them are going to be out for surgery for an extended period. And one of those is the tour guide, Johnetta Heberly. The other is Todd Roberts, our collections manager. And with a new shoulder for Johnetta and a new knee for Todd, we are just not up to pulling it off because it's a really complicated deal. But we will be back with that next fall, and we may be back with it in the spring. But we're not without some events and activities in October. Our annual picnic is October 1st. It'll be at the Grandstand Meeting Room at the fairgrounds. Our guest speaker is Shelby Belts, who is the outreach archaeologist with the State Archaeologist's Office at the Kansas Historical Society. They've done some archaeological digging in Scott Park this summer. at a site that they've been to several times over the past couple of decades, and she's going to come and share discoveries from that. Also in October, on the 22nd, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that's a Sunday afternoon, we have a dedication ceremony in Valley View Cemetery. I think everybody's familiar with the grave of Mitchell Runnels, the young man whose car engine was mounted at the top of his monument back in 1927 when he was killed on the railroad tracks in his car. We have been able to replace that crumbling concrete memorial with a new granite stone with the same engine, now not restored, but preserved and remounted back on top. And the granite has the engraved story of Mitchell, and it lists some donors on that, and we're going to do a dedication at 2 o'clock on the 22nd. Don't have this one up yet, but you may recall the burial service this summer of Sergeant Greg Knoll, who was Finney County soldier killed in 1944 during World War II in Germany, and his remains were identified, and they brought him back home, and he's buried in the Veteran Field of Honor. Well, the family is loaning us pictures, his medals, the flag from the burial, and a lot of other information. So soon we'll be putting up a temporary exhibit for several months honoring Sergeant Knoll. And we're having a 75th anniversary reception because we've been around since 1948, and that'll be November 2nd. That is a Thursday afternoon. It's 5 to 7:30 in the museum, and we hope people will come. It's open to the public. We're doing it in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce. We also have our holiday open house, probably 10:30 in the morning to about 3 in the afternoon on Saturday, December 9th. Oh, and on the 4th of December, we're going to make some chili, just so you know. And then I also just wanted to mention two other things. We had a great deal of fun and a lot of contact with the public Saturday at Fall Fest downtown. We had a little history contest, and we let people come up and answer one question each. And if they got kind of sort of almost nearly close to a correct answer, we gave them an A+, and they got in a prize drawing that way. So we had a lot of fun, talked to about 300 people, and we were really pleased. And this isn't an event or activity, and you may or may not want to come to this, but I have the honor of being a presenter for the county's in-service program on the 9th of October, and we're going to talk about history, and I think we may just give county employees a history quiz there as well. So we'll see how that goes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you again.
Not seeing the Economic Development Corp representative. Oh, Shannon's here, excuse me. Next on our agenda, we'll hear from Shannon in lieu of Lana DeVol for the monthly Economic Development Update.
All right, well, good morning. Glad to be here. And before I forget, I want to touch on a couple of things that Bruce mentioned, who just left. He was just right there. When we're talking about sales tax, keep in mind that the majority of our local sales tax collected as a percent is not local. It does go to the state. And then keep in mind when we're talking about who comes and gives us the sales tax here and who spends money here, more than half of the people who spend money and contribute to our sales tax in Finney County is from outside of Finney County. So those people are coming here. They're traveling on our roads. We have to have sheriffs to cover it. We have to do all that stuff. So anytime that we can get a little bit of that sales tax back is a good deal. And we'll see some of those data about where people are coming from. It's really impressive. What I'm going to talk about really quick today is just a couple of things. There's things going around that people from other organizations do, and it's kind of in conflict with the stuff that we produce. So part of it is just talking about why do we do the things we do, or how are we getting to our estimates versus how some other groups are getting to their estimates, and just so everybody knows what's going on. This is just recently. This is from CEDBR, Center for Economic Development Business Research. They released their 50-year population estimates. This is from the Wichita State University. And in that map there that you see of Kansas, the brighter yellow, the more that they're projecting that we have a positive growth. The darker black it is, they're projecting a negative growth over the next 50 years. And really, it's not too bad. We'll talk about in a minute what it used to look like, but right now they have us growing a pretty good amount. So if we go down a couple, we'll go down one more. And so we'll talk about why we pay attention to this number a little bit more than maybe some other population estimates. Over the past couple of years, I've been paying attention to what their forecasts are for populations. And in 2016, they projected that a 50-year growth estimate for Finney County would be at negative 31%, where Ford County would be up positive 36%. And then we kind of did a lot of pushbacking and saying, I don't think that's right. 2020, they said, you know what? We think over the next 50 years, Finney County is going to be flat population, and Ford County is going to go up 14%. We still said we don't think that's right. They just came out with this most recent one, and it is looking better than it has before at a 50-year population estimate of 18%, and Ford County being at about 17%. So there has been a change going forward, and if we go to the next slide there, we can see that the 3 yellow lines on that graph, those are the historic ones. I couldn't go back enough in time. There was at one point that I believe that they actually had us at half the population over a 50-year plan. I couldn't go back into the Internet Archive to find that data. But they've slowly been coming up, but it's still nowhere near what we think is happening. And that blue line is what we're looking at from the housing study. So what we're looking at the housing study is the jobs that are about to come on, the housing that's come on, it's looking at empirical and all those things, and then just our traditional growth. If you look at that gray line from 1960 to 2010, we grew about 2.5% each year. And if we look at our forecast that we're looking through the chat study, we're looking at about half of that, about 1.28, and we think that actually is a little bit low, but even then, that's still way above. That still puts us at 2070, above 70,000 as a population. So one of the questions is, that's good. So one of the questions is why are we getting such a differences in population estimates between what Wichita State is saying and what our housing study and our local groups are saying? And again, one of the differences is we're looking at jobs and how many jobs are available and what jobs are coming online. But if we start looking at the Wichita data, here's a whole bunch of numbers. Don't look too hard at this. The thing I want you to look at is what this is. So we have all the age groups. That 2021 number is the census data. And then we have 5-year steps out, 2026, 2031, and so forth. And if you go look, and here's one of our clues about what's going on with the Wichita State's data. If we look at how many 0 to 4-year-olds there'll be in 2026, they say Finney County is going to have a severe drop in the amount of 0 to 4-year-olds. Now, why would that be? I'll give you a clue. Manhattan and Lawrence and Hayes are going to have a baby boom over the next 5 years. Why would we have a decrease and they have a predicted baby boom? The universities, right? So what Wichita State is doing is straight up naively looking, not just blindly looking at the age that you have, and then, well, we have college-age students. In 5 years, those are usually the ones that have babies, right? So they say, well, okay, well, you don't have any college-age students. You're not going to have babies in 5 years. We kind of know that's not the case, right? So if we look at how they're making these projections, we can see that all they're doing is taking the age, seeing what you'd normally correlate that with, and then aging it through. And for an example of this, so we're going to have a baby deficit in 2020, 2026. To see how they're getting their population estimates, go to the next one. You can see that this baby deficit gets carried through. So they're going to be 0 to 4-year-olds, we're going to have a deficit. Then 5 years after that, we're not going to have 5 to 9-year-olds. And then we're not going to have 10 to 14-year-olds 5 years after that. And they just keep aging that out. Interestingly, if you look at the population estimate for 2031 for 0 to 4-year-olds, we shoot back up, right? Why? Because we have a lot of high schoolers right now. Right? So their age up in 10 years, they're not saying that they're going to leave for college, only the ones that did leave for college. So what we're looking at when we're talking about the population forecast that we have, we're really looking at what's happening locally. We're not looking at these kind of age progression things because we know that we're going to lose our college-age population. They have to go away, but then they come back. We have employers like Tyson that do recruit. younger age, family, people that usually have families, and those generate more of our population. So if you see what's going on and you hear this forecast, I mean, this time it's good. I mean, at least we're getting a positive 50-year forecast, but still, we think it's undershooting, and it's a little bit different than what we have. So that's the first thing. Then the other thing is this is actually from the Hunden report, and specifically what I'm going to look at is the trade area, because there's been a lot of stuff from the economic development where we talked about our trade area and where we looked at. And so specifically, this is how Hunden measured the trade area. They call it the trade area of major retail, regional retail, called the true trade area. And so what they did is they looked at the locations where the highest percentage of people came from, or the highest number of people came from, two different Walmarts. And they used the Walmarts as the way to measure where your trade area is. And the thing that I like to point out is, the easiest one is Lamar. And these are the people that go shopping at the Walmart in Lamar. And notice that it includes the whole Front Range, which means they're saying in this report that Pueblo, Colorado Springs, and Denver are part of Lamar's trade area. People are going from there to Walmart in Lamar to go shopping, and that makes them part of their trade area. So what's going on here? They have data. I mean, they're using Placer just like we have Placer at Economic Development. Go down the slide. So here's what we said. This is Garden City's trade area, which is definitely a different shape than what they were looking at. So if we go down, what they are looking at is a home location of the top 75% of visitors. And so it doesn't measure what you think that would measure, and you can see the map is kind of weird. And so the results actually that we get from this is inverse of what you'd expect. So go down, I think the next slide, yeah. So what's a trade area? So the University of Wisconsin Community Economic Development, who gets this definition because they came up first on a Google search of what's a trade area. Trade area defines an area where customers live and how far they are to likely travel to a particular business or business district. So how do we measure this? How do we measure a trade area? Either it's the number of people from a community that shops at a location, or the percent of people from a community that shops at a location. And a lot of times those are the same, especially in big metro areas. The number and the percent are about the same. But in rural areas, it's a little bit different. So if we go to the next slide, we have a slide. We have a couple of this, and this is just hypothetical, but it demonstrates the point of the difference between the number of people and the percent of people. So we have the cities, so Wichita, Denver, Lakin, Deerfield, and so forth. And how many people that came to our community to shop from those locations. We could look at the top 75% of people, like number-wise. So 675 people came from Wichita. That's going to be one of the top places. That outpaces Deerfield because Deerfield doesn't have that many people. They have 650 people. So there's more people that came from Wichita to our location. There's more people that came from Denver, 680. That outpaces Ingalls because Ingalls just can't compete. So if we look at the number of people, we would say Wichita, Denver, Lakin, Scott, Dodge, Holcomb is in our trade area. But if we look at the percent of people, how many people as a percent from each of these places are coming? We can see that 675 people from Wichita is a very, very small fraction of people. People from Wichita as a whole aren't coming here. But Ingalls with 250, that's almost everybody. So when we're talking about trade area, the trade area that we talk about, we look at the percent of people from the different locations. What percent of people are coming here? What are the large percentages of people? Not necessarily numbers of people. And so if we go to the next slide, so what's happening here is that there's not a lot of people going to Walmart in Lamar. There are people from the Front Range that are coming down and stopping through Denver and all that stuff. So they get a higher number, but that isn't a large percentage of the people coming through. And if we even take this a little bit further, if you would think about what this map would look like for a Walmart inside of Wichita, it would be a really small, it would be just a dot because all the population would come from right around that area. So does that really make sense as a way to measure this? The measurement that they actually used here is actually almost an inverse. If you have a Walmart in a high traffic area, it's going to be very small on the map because everybody's going to be concentrated. If you would have built a Walmart in the middle of I-70, where there's nobody living there, but people driving through, you would have a trade area that show people in Denver, people in Kansas City, people in St. Louis, because all the number of people would be from really far away. So that's one thing is I don't think this is measuring the right way. The second question is the next slide, is does Walmart even define our trade area? And remember when we're talking about this report specifically, we're talking in the CVB, the kind of visitors where we're getting people in for events, big events. We'll concede that people in Dodge City are going to be going to Dodge City's Walmart for day-to-day shopping, but they still come here for the big overnight shopping, the big stuff. As a matter of fact, I just pulled Shulman Crossing's data. We have people coming here from Rocky Ford, Colorado. Like if you look at where our significant amount of people are coming from, Rocky Ford, Colorado, McCook, Nebraska, Perryton, Texas, and then Pratt, Kansas. That's another point if we're talking about capturing some of the sales tax. We're getting sales tax from people from not even our state. So if we can get that back here, that'd be awesome. So if instead of looking at Walmarts, let's look at something more comparable when we're talking about visitation, when we're talking about event space, and we're talking about fairs and stuff like that. This is a map of looking at Shulman Crossing versus the mall in Dodge City versus the biggest thing that we could have a comparable thing down in Liberal. And where are people coming from for those power center kind of shopping? And this really does more match up with what we think about. So when we're looking at this Hunter report, one, I don't think that they were measuring what they say they're measuring by the way that they measured it, by looking at numbers instead of percentages. Second, I don't think we should be looking at Walmarts to say people will or won't come to our area. We really should be looking at those power centers because we know that people are coming here for Sam's Club and Target and all that stuff, that there isn't another copy of that in Lamar or Great Bend or Dodge City. So back down, this was our trade area. Again, our trade area map that really matches it right ahead. And one good news that we could say right now, that trade area that we had, this was from a couple years ago when we first established this, 282,000 people. Down to the next slide. This is the most recent poll of data from people going to Shulman Crossing. We are now up to 300, and it's the visitors line right there. We have 341,000 unique people that went to Shulman Crossing last year for a total of 3 million visits. And when we're talking about 3 million visits, what's that equivalent to? That's equivalent to if you took everybody who went to a home KU basketball game, everybody who went to a home K-State football game, everybody who went to a home Chiefs football game, and the home Royals game, that's 3.1 million people. So the amount of people going to Shulman Crossing is the amount of people going to K-State or KU basketball, K-State football, the Chiefs, and the Royals at home. So that's a significant amount of people coming in to visit here. So we know we can draw people in. Okay, so that's the last thing for that topic. One last thing, and this is just what I'm working on next. So we're starting to get into the KDOT thing. This is a really interesting map, and I'm going to have a whole bunch more about this. If you like hearing me talk, which I know everybody does, come to Finney County Economic Development Board meeting coming up. We will be talking about this map. This is a study about regionality and the economics of it's actually mega regions. What they're looking at is what communities act like mega regions. And in this report, they actually came out that you see the Lubbock little group down in that area, and then we have us up above, Garden City, Dodge City Liberal. We're different colors. They look really similar, but they're actually different groups. They've actually designated us. When they're looking at major regions and regionalities for how economies work in the United States, we are actually a separate economy than the rest of Kansas. So when we talk about where we're trying to fight for the things that we have and we might not be heard, it's because we're a completely different group. Us in Southwest Kansas and the rest of them. So the last thing that I'm going to point out with this map, and this relates to some of the stuff we're getting into with KDOT and Ike, if we talk about with those people, like where's the important highways in Kansas, especially when we're talking about the economy, people talk about the interstates, but they don't talk about Highway 400. Look at the economy, and this is a measurement of how the economy flows when they're doing this. Look at where I-70 is, and look where we are. If we're talking about the importance of the economy to our state, this map right here shows you the importance of our local roads. It's more important, 400 is, for our economy than I-70. So that's it. That's a whole bunch of stuff. I know that is. So I think that's my last slide, besides contacting me. Any questions? I was talking a mile a minute, so.
Questions?
Question, I have a comment
Okay.
on some bit of information I received about store closings. Walmart was included in the list, and the nearest one was the Walmart store in Liberal as being, going to be closed according to the,
I would have to see what that is. Is that their neighborhood market?
I don't know what,
Because they did have a neighborhood market, and that concept wasn't working very well. I know our neighborhood market has been doing pretty well. But I haven't seen anything like that. And if it is liberal, that would be my guess. But I would hate to say anything official, especially if a whole bunch of people are watching. So,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Presentation.
Thanks.
All right, next on our agenda is the EMS Medical Director Agreement. Skylar Swords, EMS Director.
can that be followed by a break?
We'll take care of this and then we'll take a break.
Good morning, gentlemen. So you see there, we look like we have, I believe that we've come to an acceptable contract that I believe is Kara's, what she submitted there, where it has both USAC's and Dr. Casey Dart's signature there, where I think it'll better reflect, kind of keep our bases covered there.
All right, thank you, Skylar. Administrator Robert Reese, do you approve of this contract?
I did text Kara, and she has reviewed that and approves of that as well. So
All right. Do you want to be the signatory on this, or should we go ahead and have Skylar as the EMS Service Director sign it?
you can approve him to be a signatory on that one.
Very good. Is there any other questions from commissioners to Skylar on this EMS medical? Then a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we accept the agreement between Finney County EMS and Dr. Casey Dart and authorize Skylar Swords to sign the agreement.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the EMS Medical Director contract as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is a break as determined by Commissioner Jones, and we will reconvene at 9:40. Thank you. Is hearing from the 2023 Annual Fall Cleanup, Mackenzie Phillips from Development Administrative Coordinator. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Mackenzie Phillips, Development Administrative Coordinator. So before you today, you are asked to waive the $2 per ton municipal waste fee for the 2023 Annual Fall Cleanup. The Finney County Public Works Department received a letter from the City of Garden City requesting that Finney County assist in the fall cleanup program this year by waiving the $2 per ton municipal waste fee. The 2023 City Fall Cleanup will last from October 2nd through October 13th this year. Finney County usually receives a $2 per ton municipal waste fee from the landfill. Waste Connections sends this money to the county on a quarterly basis, and we have waived this fee in the past for the city. Staff requests that the board also waive the $2 per ton municipal waste fee for the county and county residents in the residents of Finney County to haul unwanted items on the 2 Fridays during the city's cleanup. So this year, those dates would be October 6th and October 13th. The county will have 3 locations where we are allowing residents to dump items for us to pick up and haul to the landfill. And these 3 areas you can see in the maps in your packet as well. And those are Hillcrest and Karen Street area, Jones and Lincoln, and then Acosta Homes. So staff is also requesting that the reduced rates for the county be for the county also on Monday following the cleanup on October 16th to dump any remaining items that were dropped off at these locations. So the alternatives before you this morning are the board may approve the waiver for the 2023 city and county fall cleanups, or the board may not approve the waiver for the 2023 city and county fall cleanups. And staff recommends alternative 1 to approve the waiver.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'll move that we approve option 1 and waive the $2 fee.
Thank you for the motion. Is there any discussion or questions from the remainder of the commission for Mackenzie on this? All right, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the presentation for the waiver of the fees as set forth in the alternatives in the presentation in our packet. Any other discussion from commissioners? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mackenzie.
Thank you.
Next up on our agenda is to set the 2024 holidays. Kelly Munyon, Human Resource Director. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. The board is being asked this morning for their formal approval of the 2024 holidays that are attached, noting that no additional holidays in 2024 fall on a weekend. Therefore, no additional weekdays will be requested as observance days for next year. Finney County policy does state that the following holidays are designated as official holidays each year for all county employees. These dates were provided in the agenda write-up. The alternative is to approve the 2024 holidays and building closures as presented and as specified in the personnel policy. Staff recommends approving the 2024 holidays as listed.
Thank you. I wanted to have this discussion, so that's why this is on our agenda.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Sure.
Questions about the holidays? This follows our budget issues and also our changes in paid time off and combination of the holidays. Any discussion or questions for the Human Resource Director? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the designation of these holidays and the building closures on these days as well?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the designated holidays and building closures as set forth in our packet. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Next up, you are for the 2023 Third Annual In-Service and Benefits.
We had a staff training before that. Do you want me to skip?
No, I don't. I want you to
Okay.
go to staff training.
Okay. Okay. This morning, the board's being asked to consider a partial day closure of the Finney County Administration Building from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Friday, October 20th for a administration staff training. Workplace violence and emergency preparedness trainings are vital to develop skills and practice proper procedures, ensuring the safety of county staff and visitors of county buildings. These trainings will be provided by the Garden City Police Department. And the day before, so Thursday, October 19th, Garden City Police Department has agreed to do a walkthrough of all county administration offices, identifying strengths and weaknesses. On Friday, October 20th, staff will have a 1 to 2 hour video presentation and then approximately an hour of a scenario demonstration in the building, followed up by a first aid course called Stop the Bleed. The alternatives allow the partial day closure of the Finney County Administration Building to participate in this training with Garden City Police Department. Or second, do not allow the partial day closure and require Finney County staff to seek alternatives to receive a similar downscaled training. Staff recommends alternative 1, allowing the partial day closure of the Finney County Administration Building from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Friday, October 20th, 2023 for all administration building staff training. By approving this closure today, this allows for a 30-day notice to citizens and continued communication of the closure date, time, and reason.
Thank you. Questions from the commission regarding the requested closure date?
I don't have any questions, but I just comment that I think these are very good. I noticed I was listening to school board candidates that were running, and they were complaining about that some of the teachers had not had active shooter training, and they thought that that was needed. And I guess living out here, it never crosses my mind, but I could see where this is we need to take this in consideration in this day and age. I think you got 30-day notice. Boy, I'd put up lots of signs, because the folks that come in and get tags at the last minute, they will be at your door.
Yes, we will. Also, I do want to follow up that we did share the gentleman's name at Garden City PD that we've been in touch with for other directors so that they can schedule for their buildings as well.
Any other questions from commissioners? Then otherwise, Davy Jones, do you have? Oh, excuse me.
Just one simple question. Is this going to be considered mandatory for all the people in the administration building? Because that was one of the issues with the school board candidates, is it wasn't necessarily mandatory, and so they were getting partial attendance and so forth.
I think it needs to be mandatory. However, we already have had one employee who has a prior incident and has some PTSD. She has asked not to sit through the scenario itself, but I believe she would attend the others. So I think if there's an issue like that,
Yeah.
we would be able to waive.
Well, there can
your
always be an
motion,
exception.
Why
Yeah.
don't you make it mandatory, but at the discretion of the administrator, and we'll leave that in Robert's hands.
I would so move building closure with mandatory attendance, with exceptions being okayed by the administrator.
And that's on October 20th from 8
8 to 1.
8 to 1.
Yes.
That's your motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Has been moved and seconded to close the administration building for mandatory training, except as relieved by the administrator, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Friday, October 20th. So everybody watching know that the courthouse, or not the courthouse, but this administrative building will be closed on 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Friday, October 20th. I'm sure we'll make adequate notice the best way we can. Madam Clerk, make it happen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Good luck with your training.
Thank you.
Now, in service.
Yes, sir. So the staff would like to update and remind the board of our 2023 All-Staff In-Service and Benefits Fair that will take place Monday, October 9th at the Finney County Fairgrounds. The Benefits Fair has been an annual event for many years, and on June 21st, 2021, the board approved by motion to allow Columbus Day that year and each year thereafter as a working holiday. County buildings are closed, and staff will attend an organized annual in-service training day and benefits fair. Recommendation, the staff appreciates the consideration of the board to attend the event, and Finney County staff Board of County Commissioners also in the past has given the opening statement as well as the invocation. I did provide one of the 4 agendas. This year it's a Hawaiian theme. I don't know if any of you attended the 2021 Chamber Banquet. They had Sam Glenn. He's going to be our keynote speaker this year, and he'll also do a couple breakouts. We do have Compass Behavioral Health given a training as well, Garden City Leadership, Assistant City Manager Danielle Burke, and we've also recently been in touch with Steve Quakenbush, and he has agreed to come and want to do 45 minutes around the lunch hour with our staff to do some Finney County history trivia.
Right, questions by commissioners? Hearing none, who wants to volunteer to do the welcome and invocation on October 9th? Your chairman's going to be in Topeka on the 9th because our planning meeting is on the 10th for the following regular session. So I'm not going to be here, so who is volunteering to come down and help with it?
I'm also out of town, so otherwise I wouldn't mind helping you.
Well, Mr. Vice Chairman, how's your schedule?
I'm just looking. I'm out of town too.
To my left.
Sorry.
50-50 chance I'm in Harvest.
Mr. Jones, would you like to volunteer?
No, not really, but I will.
Would you please?
I would, and I'll be there at 4:30 in the morning ready for biscuits and gravy.
I'll be there, so it'll be you and I, sir.
October 9
October 9th, yes.
at 7:30.
Breakfast begins at 7:30. The welcome and invocation will kick off at 8:30.
And that's at the fairgrounds.
Finney County Fairgrounds Exhibition Building, yes, sir.
Same as I've done the last couple of
Yes.
years.
I don't think there's any action that we need to take, but now that we've got you covered,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thanks.
Before Kelly goes, what we did last year, as I recall, was one of us did an invocation, and Bob Kreitzer was also there involved in a welcome, but we also involved our county administrator a little bit. So can we do that on the fly again like we did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. Appreciate your participation. I'll see you the next day for planning.
He may designate that to his assistant administrator, who knows? I mean,
Delegation works in this business. The next item on our agenda is the courthouse elevator modernization, and Robert, you're covering this, sir?
Yes, sir. Just an update on that. We received back from the firm that's doing it, TKE, that when they sent it off to the state fire marshal for review, they omitted one area which had to do with the two-way communication device in that bid. Before you then is an updated bid. Remember back in July, it was approved for just over $114,000. The new proposal meeting the fire marshal's standards is $126,426.56. So the commission is being asked to approve that updated quote so we can move forward on this project.
Source of funding for this project?
This one here is also scheduled, is a scheduled project out of the annual budget.
Out of the court's budget?
No, out of the buildings and grounds budget.
All right.
Correct.
Commissioners, any questions for the administrator? Motion to?
You need a motion, Mr. Chairman. I'll offer that we approve the additional expenditure and raise the limit to $126,426.56.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the new proposed amount for the elevator in the courthouse to $126,426.56. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Brings us to the amendment and add-on to our agenda this morning, which is a parking lot use agreement between the Board of County Commissioners and the Garden City Community College in participation with Seward County Community College to provide commercial CDL driver's training on our parking lot. And if you would, Administrator Reese, would you inform the board what this is about?
This is actually a three-way agreement. Seward County currently, Community College currently provides training there in Seward County. Garden City Community College reached out to them to extend that service up here as well. They needed the utilization of a parking lot area. We entered into conversations for that, and that's what you have before you there is an agreement that with an understanding that those county employees that are wishing to pursue their CDL will be provided a discount for that service in exchange for them utilizing our facility over the next 2.5 years.
Very good. And my notes reflect that Ms. Schartz, our county counselor, texted both of us this morning and said she had reviewed the contract and that it's ready for signature.
Correct.
And I believe it's for signature by you or me. I don't remember.
Well, it's, you, the chair. It's the president of each community college and the chair.
Any questions of the administrator on the presentation?
I have a question, Mr. Administrator.
Yes, sir.
I had a conversation with one of the CityLink bus drivers. His understanding is that in order to get a CDL in the future, you can't just go to the testing center and test like they used to. They now must go through one of these training programs. So if that's so, we've got a burden for folks working for Road and Bridge. Can we work out an agreement that they get some priority training?
Correct. They will receive a savings on that course.
Okay, thanks.
And I think we have approximately, if I remember correctly, 8 that may be eligible to take that, if I remember correctly.
All right, thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, just a comment. It's my understanding, this paragraph 3, that this is in effect till May 31st of next year, and unless there's any notice given, then it will extend for a 1-year period.
Okay, very good. Any other questions on the presentation? And then the motion needs to authorize me as the chair to sign it.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we sign, that we authorize you to sign the memorandum of understanding between Garden City Community College and the Finney County Board of Commissioners for use of the parking lot area at the fairgrounds.
Is there a second?
As a graduate of that school, I will second.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion on the issue before the commission on this contract?
Were you a valedictorian of your class?
No.
No, okay.
But I also went to Stewart and took the test over there.
Well, we'll withhold from comment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, do you have a contract for me to sign?
It's on its way.
While you're signing that, I thought farmers were exempt from CDL.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
They're exempt to medical.
Well, I can tell you from the chair's perspective in my profession that once you become the holder of a CDL license, you become a second-class citizen in the criminal administration. If you hold a CDL license, you're held to a standard that's unbelievable as far as infractions, whether you're in a CDL vehicle or whether you're in your personal vehicle. And it's nearly impossible to get the exercise of prosecutorial discretion should you have a small indiscretion on 156 highway.
Speeding.
We're talking about a specific highway.
Well, it's, as I told one captain from the Highway Patrol, unless he wanted to come back to Finney County a lot on his days off, he ought to turn his radar off on 156. There, I said it. All right. Madam Clerk, upcoming meetings and events are published. Anything to add or take off?
No, I don't think there's anything. We will be adding the showcase events, but we'll be adding those to the second document, not this calendar, but to the community events.
Okay, and I'm sure we'll hear from Commissioner Pishney on attendance at the first showcase. That's big stuff. You know, we funded that, and that's trying to keep our students and workers here in Southwest Kansas.
And Dora, you might put some of the Historical Society dates on there too. I don't think they're on there, are they?
They're not, but I have made a note of that, and we'll get those on that community events.
That would help, because it,
Absolutely.
Anything else on meetings or events?
I think you do have a local consult coming up in October. I believe it's October the 4th.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen to be on the agenda, on the meetings.
It'll be at the Clarion?
KDOT.
Yes.
9 o'clock, I believe.
I hope many commissioners can attend. I cannot, so.
I was planning on it.
Well, if we can have an attendance there, that would help. KDOT's got some, it's a busy time in Finney County, and your participation in that presentation would be appreciated. October 4th. All right, we have a development update. Do you have anything for us, Mackenzie?
Yes, I do. Mackenzie Phillips, Development Administrative Coordinator. So I've got quite a few updates for Country Acres. So last City Commission meeting, they did approve the infrastructure improvement agreement and their pre-annexation or consent to annexation for the installation of the water lines within that development. So Randall Estates, I think I mentioned last time that the permit was approved by KDOT, so we are working to schedule a pre-construction meeting. We have our engineer, Kirk and Michael, working on a list of inspections that will be required during the construction process, so we're waiting for that before we can schedule the pre-construction meeting. And then Western Kansas Corridor, Phase 2 and 3, we did get information that the third edition is being the plat is being held off for being recorded at this point because they're looking at making a few changes to it. And then the first phase, we're going to be working with our engineer to schedule a final walkthrough for the infrastructure. So, any questions for me?
Commission?
Okay,
I don't believe there are any. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Take it easy on you.
We have an HR report and personal policy update from Kelly Munyon.
Yes, good morning again. Just a couple things. So we do have open enrollment. I will keep you gentlemen on emails that go out to all staff, but open enrollment this year, which is where you will elect or waive any benefits for 2024, will be November 1st through November 15th. And then we have a very antiquated personnel policy. In the past decade that I've been around here, there hasn't been an update to the policy. There has been a few things here and there changed, but no update of the entire policy. So prior administration had worked with Hinkle Law back in 2019 and were given that redlined policy. I have inserted the leave changes that y'all recently approved and sent that back over to Hinkle. Jim Spencer should have that back over to me. He told me approximately mid-October. I was just curious as to your desire to receive the redlined copy, if you would need it for a certain amount of time, and if you would go into a work session to review or have questions, concerns, kind of what the process is going to be with an entire policy being updated.
How major are the changes, you think? Or
Quite a few.
Quite a few.
Most of the handbook, yes, sir. Which I believe is 60 to 70 pages. It was when I sent it to him. I don't know what it's going to come back.
Mr. Administrator, do you want to have a work session on the personnel policy handbook with the commissioners?
Yes, I think it's appropriate to, yes.
When would you like to do that?
You're scheduling that, is that in October when we may start or not?
So Jim is going to try to have it back to me by mid-October was his latest update. So I don't even have it yet.
Be late October at the earliest, I would imagine, by the time we get it circulated and start reviewing that, get some comments back.
Do it after the 16th, on the 16th, or
Of
do it after
November?
the meeting? Oh, of October?
No.
Or is
Well,
I won't have it.
Oh, okay.
I'll probably just be receiving it mid-October. I'll get it over to you as soon as I receive it, but
Well, I would suggest sometime after one of the commission meetings in November then. Wayne will have his wheat planted by then, and
Maybe.
Our meetings in November are what days?
6th and 20th.
Well, which would you rather have it on, the 6th or the 20th? And I would like to have the department heads and electeds invited.
One of those, Mr. Chairman, one of those, on the 20th, we'll have to do the election, right, or have a special.
Yes, the 20th will do canvas, but that shouldn't prevent you from having a work session. But yes, that will be the first thing on the agenda that day.
I would say, Mr. Chairman, just to give them more than ample time to the 20th would be the safest, so we aren't rescheduling.
You're looking to implement effective 1/1/24,
that would be nice, yes, sir.
so we better do it in November. Does that sound right to the commissioners? Have a work session on the November 18th, following the regular session?
November
20th, excuse me. Following the regular session.
that'd be fine.
And how long do you think we're going to be in this review of the handbook with that group of people?
I think you'd want to schedule at least a couple hours for that, if not longer.
Okay? Well, we want to do about lunch. Do you want to try to squeeze it in before lunch or to?
We can have a lunch, working lunch.
We could do a working lunch?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can also adjust that depending on what's on the agenda that day.
Right. Well, I'm thinking have the food here at 11:30. Guy that thinks it's going. Well, I've missed a meal, but not lately.
Okay, so that's on the 20th.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Our county counselor is absent, but the county administrator, do you have anything that you need to dovetail in the county counselor report with yours?
Nothing related to the county councilor. We do have Sheriff Mike here. Give an update on the LEC assessment process. Sure.
Sheriff Warren, would you address where we stand on the LEC?
Sheriff Mike Warren, we have, I can't remember her name, Natalie Buckley, I believe, is going to be here September 28th, as she's a structural engineer. She's going to look at the structure that we had some issues with. I just received an email, have not had a chance to respond back, but I just received an email from a Jeff, I don't know how you pronounce his last name, Helgerson. Is an engineer. He wants to be here the week of September 25th to look at the existing electrical and plumbing, mechanical. He's a mechanical engineer, so I will respond back to that. We'll make that available, whatever he wants to do on that week. So we're moving along. We're getting there. So.
Questions for the sheriff? All right, thank you. I just want to make sure that detailed list that we worked through in April and May
Yes.
gets to these folks so that all the people that work in the building are being heard.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Additionally, I have.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Additionally, I have tentatively set aside October 12th for interviews for architects. We sent those out here just recently, and that is for the attorney's office, the health department, EMS facility, and the fairgrounds building. So October 12th, those will have interviews with all, excuse me, all four local architects.
And who are your two commissioners that are?
I believe it was Dwayne and Lon.
And you're thinking of starting those in the morning, or?
Correct, yes. We'll just do them.
Time certain?
As soon as they get us the information back, we'll start setting those up and forward that out.
All right, very good. Stay with you, Mr. Administrator, on department monthly reports.
You did, those are the ones that you've received already for, in writing?
Right.
So, yes. All right.
Any questions under the department reports? I do appreciate the detail and the financial detail that's in those reports. Madam Treasurer, keep up the hard work of making sure that our money is, as deposited, is working for us. I'd like to acknowledge your hard work in making that work. It greatly affected our ability to provide some ad valorem tax relief in this county. Not just interest rates alone, but all your other hard work as well. Now, I don't think I have anything else and ready to go to commissioners' reports.
Jerry,
Yes, sir.
look at this and see if this needs any discussion.
Okay. Trista received a concern and then provided information with regard to the lack of movement on a Finney County tax foreclosure sale. And we're going to take the time and hear from you with regard to this letter to the commission. Please announce yourself, Trista.
My name's Trista Joyce. I'm the county treasurer. So several times a week, we do receive inquiries about the tax foreclosure sale in our office, in the treasurer's office. So the treasurer's office has done our part of the process at this point. The commission has taken action and requested that the county counselor does proceed with the tax sale. And unfortunately, there just hasn't been any movement. It appears that there have been more pressing matters that demand her attention. So with those inquiries, I have also received some information from other treasurers and interested parties about other firms that do offer tax foreclosure sale representation, and I have included two of those for you. Those are regularly talked about throughout the Treasurers Association. So I did reach out to both of those firms for more details, and that is included in the information that I did send to you on Friday.
All right, I'm going to have my 10 cents worth and then open up to the other commissioners. I applaud your efforts in providing us alternatives. I'm not ready in any means to proceed with an alternative at this point, but I think that we might be able to put some voltage into some action that we need, both from our county counselor and her firm.
Okay.
I'm just one vote. If other commissioners may disagree and want to follow up with your recommendations, so I'll open it up to them. Commissioners?
We've been battling this issue or problem for a long time. I guess we need just to work on our counselor a little more than make this a priority. And see if we can get some action, and if we don't get any action in the next few months, we'll have to do something.
Other remarks? We'll go right down the row.
Mr. Chairman, I would be of that same mindset at this particular point, and unfortunately, she's not able to be here today, so we can have that discussion starting now, but I think we need to have our discussion with her, find out what it is that's holding it up. I appreciate Trista's report. I appreciate her offering suggestions for alternatives, but at least at this point, I would be in favor of having further discussion with our council.
Commissioner Drees?
Our tax delinquencies were published several weeks ago. Is there a time frame that litigation needs to happen after publication?
Sure. So those delinquencies that were published in the paper, those do, they may have prior delinquent years, they may not. This may be their first delinquent year. So if it's their first delinquent year, then we still have to wait for 2 more years before those go to litigation. Currently, we're talking about tax delinquencies from tax year 2017. That's what we began in 2021. Yes. So that's why I thought it appropriate to provide you with more information.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jones?
Well, I recall conversations going back over the last 15 years about tax sales, and the fact that if we would have a tax sale every couple of years, we'd probably get that number of sales down to less than a dozen. In my 15 years on the commission, we've had one tax sale. That was in 2019, is that right?
I know there was one.
Yes, there was, the last one was in 2019, yes.
So that's not every 2 years, and I don't know what it takes other than a direct demand, if you will, that we do something to speed things up. So whatever it takes, I'm in favor of having a lively discussion, and if we need to hire someone outside help, then let's consider it. So,
Mr. Chairman, can I add one comment?
Yes, sir.
That's true. 219 was the last one, and because I bought a piece of property during that time. However, what you've referenced in your memo, if I'm not mistaken, we have already prescribed having it annually, having a tax sale annually. We've already prescribed that. And then lastly, Linda, when she was our counselor, had started the process. We thought we were on track for a tax sale, and then we had her parting and hiring new and so forth. So I think the mechanisms are there. We just need to get the action going. Thank you.
thank you for your help.
Thank you.
We'll circle back with this, and thank you for your letter. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, Commissioner reports. Let's go left to right. Commissioner
gonna be-
Jones.
I need quite a little time. I haven't had a meeting.
Well, hold it. We'll get the
clock
timer
ready.
on.
Hey, I'm glad there's no discrimination on that thing.
Ready, Dave?
I'm all, good. You ready? Okay. I'll quit stuttering. Only had one meeting scheduled. That was LEPC. It got canceled, so I've had no meetings since our last commission meeting. That's my report.
Can you equal his brevity?
That was 15.7. Let me try.
Did you even get it started?
I only had the Fair Board meeting this last 2 weeks, and we discussed that action earlier in the meeting. So no further report.
Commissioner Larry Jones.
No official meetings. I did attend a Republican precinct chairman's meeting and listen to some of the candidates, even though I don't get a vote for any of them because it's 457, but it was quite interesting. Also, I want to remind everybody about KLPG coming up in our fellow commissioner's favorite city of Hays, America. So that's coming up, and make sure and look at your calendars and attend if you can. It's important to be there. Other than that, I'll see I've got a committee on aging Thursday, and I think we're still scheduled. Other than that, nothing.
Commissioner Pishney?
Well, Larry's taken a couple of them, so that cuts it a little bit shorter. But one is I had KLPG and I mentioned, and the school board hearing from some of the school board candidates. The other three things that I have noted, I did attend the Extension District's meeting the other day, and they did approve R&R as far as their budget this year. I think actually they were just a little bit under that, what their revenue neutral rate was, but they did adopt a pretty flat rate. I did attend the city commission meeting a couple weeks ago, where the KDOT secretary spoke and visited about some of the projects going on out in this area. And we do have the consult meeting that's already been referenced on the 4th of October. And it's my understanding, and I asked our administrator to make contact with the secretary, that he might be out here the night before, and we might be able to have a one-on-one session, if you will, with the secretary with regard to Highway 83 and projects that are concerning to us as a county. So I hope that that can be done. Unfortunately, I'm out of town from the 3rd through the 9th, and I will not be able to participate. I did attend that showcase, as the chairman mentioned, which was kind of the general kickoff showcase. You should have received the dates for the other showcases, and Dory said she would have those on our calendar. The next one, and unfortunately it's when I'm gone on October 5th, but it fits within Larry's and Dwayne's areas of expertise and interest as much as anybody on this commission. But it's at High Plains Feed Yard and hosted by Tom Jones and that group, and it will be the agriculture showcase. But
What date?
on October 5th, which is a Thursday. And Joe Coles does an outstanding job, and they partnered, as you were told when we committed our $50,000 to the project, that they partnered with the United Administrators Association of Kansas. And so Joe's getting used to that partnership because he was totally in charge before, and he's quick to say, it's not a negative. I just need to get used to this relationship and what that means and who's doing what. But they had about 19 schools out of the 26 attend that showcase in Sublette. They will have them now with agriculture, healthcare, essential services, and so forth going forward. But lastly to that, I reached out to our Extension District Director, Carol Ann, with regard to they cannot find agents for Extension in all of western Kansas, and they're looking for one currently in our local district. And so she and Joe Cole, I just connected the two of them, and they're going to try to figure out how can this showcase work for them. And also, the 3 community colleges had tables there in addition to some businesses in Sublette. And Garden City Community College had a mix-up on date or something, but Seward County and Dodge City were present. And I reached out to Fort Hays as well, because just last week they had an applied technology day at Fort Hays, and they have a formal relationship with Northwest Tech and North Central Tech now. And I think those connections with those technical schools as well as our community colleges is important. So I connected them with Joe Coles as well. So we'll see if we can even help the Western Kansas Showcase, careers showcases even expand more. They have a saying, and it is their website, Start Here, Stay Here, and it's startherestayhere.org is the website for this organization, and they've got some interesting information on that website. But I've come up with a different phrase, grow your own, keep them home, saying the same thing. And that's the phrase that I'm using with some of these other organizations and trying to connect them to Joe Coles and the showcases. Lastly, the other meeting, and I don't remember if it was mentioned publicly, but tomorrow evening is the Home Products Dinner in Ulysses that I've been trying to attend the last several years, and I do plan to go there tomorrow evening for that as well. If you ever have an opportunity, it's a great place to mingle with some of the legislators, because it gets a lot of attention from the legislature, and at times the governor's even been out and other administration people from Topeka. So I do plan to go and participate in that tomorrow evening.
Thank you for that report. Mine is that Compass still has one at-large board position available for anyone in Finney County or in the 13 area counties. If you would like to serve on our mental health board, please contact Compass and Lisa Southern, the executive director. Compass also will meet this Thursday, and I will attend that meeting. Compass has several openings, so if you're sitting around home and you have a master's degree or above in mental health services and would like gainful employment, please see Ms. Southern for opportunities with Compass Area Mental Health. Do we have anything else, Commissioners? We've set our next commission meetings on October 2nd and 16th, commencing at 8:30 a.m. Is there anything else that we need to take up today? Hearing none, I would like to hear a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second, Commissioner Jones.
Yep, I'll second.
Very good. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously, and we are adjourned. We'll see you on the 2nd.